Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to another episode exploring the mysterious and moving legacy of Old Billy. Today, we invite you to dive into a reflection that may challenge much of what you've been taught, the idea of having goals. Are they really a sign of progress, or just a clever trap? In Final Movement, Old Billy opens a dialogue not about achievement, but about essence, about flowing like water, guided not by destination, but by desire. What if the very idea of reaching something is the reason we feel lost? What if fulfillment isn't found in crossing finish lines, but in discovering the spring within us that never runs dry? Join us now as we wander once more through the desert, not in search of 350 cups of water, but of the infinite movement that creates oases, not by force, but by the pure desire to live. Let's listen, let's feel, and above all, let's move.
When the fog descended, silence settled over the village after the discovery of Old Billy's departure. His notes were left stacked, serving as entertainment for the locals who chose to share them with others.
Final movement. Goal might be the word that has most confused my mind. Reaching a destination, conquering something, making money, winning someone over, earning a degree, traveling to a desired place, receiving a prize, these may seem positive, and perhaps they are. Yet to me they have always felt smaller, competitive, illusory, and superficial. Worse, they often serve as justification for violence, against oneself and others, in the relentless pursuit of accomplishment. In the desert, when we needed to extract 350 cups of water from a jug that held only 15, the very logic of limitation clouded the vast potential of the desert within me. I realized that the answer to this problem could never be framed as a goal, for goals, by their very nature, impose limits. Setting 350 cups as a target, or even 500, would still create a termination point, an end. Those who set goals unknowingly impose boundaries, defining existence by milestones rather than by movement itself. People chase one goal after another until, eventually, they feel drained. The achieved goals fade, losing all color over time. Goal belongs to the human mind, which perceives only through its own calibrated lens, fixed at a certain distance. This habitual fixation on goals deprives the being of its right to expand freely and naturally. In contrast, desire aligns with the organic unfolding of life, allowing movement to be guided by attraction rather than by forced direction. A life goal is a contradiction, for goals are finite and life is infinite. Living is always being on the way, never reaching any final destination. When the desire to feel good, no matter the circumstance, becomes the guiding force, it transforms perception, opening pathways to unexpected discoveries. Through this, we encounter surprising people and experiences. We come to know our own nature, something no goal could ever fully capture. The solution to quenching the thirst of 350 travelers in the desert was never about reaching a predetermined number of cups. A limited goal could never have offered the true answer, because filling their cups would have only postponed their thirst, not transformed it. The vision of momentary relief, smiles gleaming with fleeting satisfaction, would soon dissolve into the emptiness of, "It's over." The real answer lay in movement, in alignment with life itself, where the best of each being attracts the best of circumstances, effortlessly overcoming limitations. Before allowing ourselves to find the spring of water, life took me beyond a mindset of injection, the mere act of supplying, into the vast circulatory flow of water within the body of the planet. Perhaps I will never fully grasp the depths of what this means or the extent of this network of life-giving channels. But I have come to understand that existence is an infinite sequence of movements in organic expansion. From a spring of water, a single drop emerges, then another and another, multiplying life, forming an oasis, not through force but through the natural desire for well-being. This is the essence of life's movement, an unfolding without imposed goals, without calculated distances. By surrendering to the flow of the spring, life gave us more than 350 cups of water. It connected us to the very essence of matter in this world. And as I said before, perhaps I will never fully comprehend the magnitude of this gift. But I now see clearly that life operates beyond my capacity to quantify it, just as water does. It flows around obstacles, evaporates into the air, reshapes landscapes, and nourishes all it touches, never bound to a singular destination. Water does not reach the sea as a goal. It has always been the sea. Its joy is found not in arrival, but in every moment. When the sun calls it to wander with the clouds, when a plant invites it to its leaves, when a camel stores it in its vast reserves. Life, like water, is not about reaching a final point. It is about movement, about being part of an ever-unfolding, ever-expanding journey.
Hello everyone. We've already gone through more than 30 analyses of texts left by Old Billy. And you must have noticed the recurrence of the desert in the stories, right? Well, Mr. Billy made at least 3 incursions into the desert and witnessed the formation of 2 oases. These experiences are told in a scattered way in notes here and there. They are what he called mosaic elements, parts that, when properly grouped, configure a work of art. I'm saying this because I hear you whispering among yourselves about the excessive abstraction of some themes and the lack of depth in others. Well, as you see in soap operas, these will be scenes from the next chapters. Now please show us your analysis.
This is a beautifully written, deeply philosophical, and insightful piece that critiques the concept of goals and champions a life lived in alignment with natural flow and desire. Here's a detailed analysis. Critique of goal-oriented thinking. Old Billy effectively dismantles the conventional notion of goals, highlighting their limitations, artificiality, and potential for violence. The text argues that setting goals can lead to an endless cycle of chasing milestones that ultimately fade in significance. The concept of goals creating a termination point is very strong. Contrast between goal and desire. Goals are seen as finite and restrictive, whereas desire aligns with natural expansion and allows life to flow organically. The text champions desire as a more natural and authentic guiding force, contrasting it with the forced direction of goals. The emphasis on movement, rather than destinations, is very powerful. Water as a metaphor for life. The recurring motif of water, from the scarcity in the desert to the eventual realization of an infinite source, reinforces the idea that true fulfillment is found in continuous movement rather than in finite achievements. The desert and water metaphors are used effectively to illustrate the limitations of goal-oriented thinking and the abundance of natural flow. The 350 cups of water analogy is very effective. Philosophical depth. The text delves into profound questions about the nature of life, fulfillment, and the human perception of reality. The concept that living is always being on the way, never reaching any final destination, is very deep. Spiritual undertones. The text conveys a sense of spiritual awakening and connection to something greater than oneself, particularly through the imagery of the spring of water. The idea of connecting to the very essence of matter is very spiritual. Evocative language. The writing is rich with imagery and sensory details, creating a vivid and immersive experience for the reader. The descriptions of the desert and the spring of water are very well done. Strong ending. The ending reinforces the central message of the text, emphasizing the importance of embracing movement and flow in life. This is a beautifully written and deeply insightful piece that offers a powerful critique of goal-oriented thinking and advocates for a life lived in alignment with natural flow and desire. Old Billy's evocative language, philosophical depth, and spiritual undertones make this a compelling and thought-provoking read.
Forgive me. This is very poetic, but a person without a clear and defined objective is a lost person, incapable of achievements.
Allow me to respond, John. As everyone knows, I am the only one here who is not a specialist in any area of human behavior. I am just an accountant. However, my friends, I see that Dr. Destin is absolutely right when he states that a person who does not have a clear and defined goal is a lost person, and I fully agree with that. But this observation seems to overlook everything we have studied here before. Let me put it in a clear and direct way. Being a person is the very factor that limits human potential. Mr. Billy is making an effort to show us something beyond, far beyond, the possibilities contained within the potential of a person. It was precisely the person that the desert took. And do you remember what it gave in return? What was the gift of this thief? What remains after the identity of the person is carried away by the winds and buried in the hot sands of the desert. The result of this equation is our essence, and blessed is the one who learns to obey their own essence. Yes, perhaps having goals is important. Today, my goal is to exchange my personal goals for those that align with the living essence within me and throughout the universe. Actually, better saying, this is not my goal, instead. I should say that this is my desire. I believe it was this expansion in self-perspective that startled our dear Tiffany and led her to ask for a pause in the readings. I could be mistaken. I cannot speak for her, but speaking for myself, I can say that I enjoy knowing that I am more than just a limited person.
Is life that goes on.